Dragon Breath Lemonade. It was the hottest, stickiest, meltiest day of the entire summer. But in a quiet front yard, two 8-year-old best friends were buzzing with energy. Meet Leo and Mia. Leo was a boy of science. He was the kind of kid who organized his sock drawer by the days of the week and used a timer to toast his bread for exactly 55 seconds. Mia was bold, creative, and a non-stop idea machine. She was the kind of kid who could convince you that eating ice cream is better than drinking milk. Today they had a mission. They both desperately wanted to buy the shiny new Super Soaker 5000 water blasters. And to get them, they were going to sell lemonade. They pooled their life savings, $5 whole each, to buy lemons, sugar, and ice. Leo took charge of the brewing. Wearing oversized safety goggles, he carefully followed his grandmother's top-secret recipe down to every teeny-tiny measurement. Meanwhile, Mia finished painting a giant, bright yellow sign that read, "The best lemonade in the universe, $1 per glass." Soon they were open for business and were eagerly waiting for their very first customer. But their first visitor wasn't a thirsty customer. It was Rocco, the neighborhood bully. He was loud, he was grumpy, and he stomped over to the stand with a mean scowl on his face. "Hand over the cash, nerds," Rocco demanded. "Rocco, we have zero cash. We invested all our money into this lemonade," Leo said. Rocco's face turned bright red with anger. Furious, he pulled out a bottle of super spicy red chili powder, his favorite prank weapon, and emptied the bottle into the lemonade. He let out a villainous laugh and stomped away, leaving Leo and Mia staring in horror. Mia said disappointedly, "Our business is ruined. Our savings are gone." Leo sighed. "We must test it to record the exact level of disaster." Leo took a cautious sip. A second later, his cheeks puffed out. He let out a muffled, "Fire! Fire!" before frantically shoving an ice cube into his mouth. "Fire! Fire! Fire!" Mia whispered. Her eyes lit up. The imaginary light bulb above her head practically exploded. She had a genius idea. 10 minutes later, the lemonade stand had a brand new look. The sign read, "Dragon Breath Lemonade, $1 to try. Finish the whole glass, win $2 back." Word spread through the neighborhood like wildfire. A crowd of curious kids lined up, all wanting to prove how tough they were. A boy named Tommy tried it first. He took one tiny sip, his eyes bulged out, and he ran home as fast as he could. Next was Sarah, who managed 2 brave gulps before she gave up. Nobody could get past half a cup without begging for an ice cube. Then Rocco the bully returned. "Ha! This is my kind of challenge. I'm about to empty your pockets."
Will Rocco win the challenge, or will the prankster get the taste of his own medicine? What do you think?
To generate your own amazing stories for free, download the Mosaic app. Rocco lifted the glass and took a gigantic, show-off gulp. He swallowed, he smirked, and then the dragon woke up. Rocco opened his mouth wide, panting so hard it looked like he was spitting out fire like a human flamethrower. He dropped the cup and sprinted down the street, wildly searching for a garden hose. The challenge was a huge success. In less than an hour, the giant jar was empty, and their cash box was overflowing with dollar bills. Armed with their hard-earned Super Soaker 5000 water blasters, Leo and Mia spent the rest of the day having the most epic water fight, splashing and laughing until the sun went down. They realized, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. The Dragon Breath Lemonade. For more such amazing story videos, please subscribe to this channel and download the Mosaic app.
Let me take you today to a house in North India many, many years ago. On the screen, a glamorous woman in a beautiful dress took a big bite of a rich, dark chocolate bar. She closed her eyes, a look of bliss washing over her face. To 6-year-old Bucky, watching from the floor, it looked like a bite of heaven itself. He was practically vibrating with energy, inching closer and closer to the glowing screen. Bucky leaped up, pointing wildly at the glass tube of the TV, drawing his brother's attention. He insisted that they had to try this dark chocolate. Lucky, always the shrewd businessman of the house, saw a golden opportunity. Knowing fully well that Bucky wasn't allowed to walk to the corner shop alone, Lucky made a sly, calculated offer. He would brave the scorching afternoon heat on 2 very firm conditions. First, Bucky had to pay 50 rupees, and second, they split the dark chocolate 50-50. It was a terribly steep price. With a heavy heart but eager eyes, Bucky smashed open his beloved clay piggy bank and handed over a crisp 50-rupee note to his brother, while sternly reminding him, "Don't forget the deal. 50% of dark chocolate is mine." For the next 20 minutes, Bucky waited impatiently. Finally, the latch clicked. Lucky stepped inside, triumphantly holding the prized foil-wrapped bar. Bucky jumped with absolute joy, reaching out with greedy little hands. But Lucky stepped back. "Patience, little brother," he whispered. "Dark chocolate is best enjoyed in a completely dark room." Trusting his older brother completely, Bucky allowed himself to be led down the hall and into the windowless storeroom, surrounded by heaps of old newspapers. "Keep your eyes tightly closed," Lucky commanded. Then, with the swift move, Lucky stepped out, flipped the light switch off, and pulled the heavy wooden door firmly shut. Standing alone in the pitch black, Bucky blinked into the void, thoroughly confused. Then, from the brightly lit hallway, Lucky's muffled, laughing voice echoed through the wood. "Hey, we agreed to split dark chocolate 50-50, so you get the dark and I get the chocolate." Bucky gasped. Betrayal! He banged his little fists against the door, shouting into the darkness that he had been cheated. Out in the hallway, Lucky was grinning ear to ear. The full chocolate bar was his. But then he paused. From the other side of the door came a soft, pitiful sniffle. His mischievous older brother exterior instantly melted into a puddle of guilt. He quickly pushed the door open. Hey, it was just a prank," he said gently. Bucky scrubbed a tear from his cheek, his sadness replaced by a wide, excited grin. Reunited and ready for the grand feast, the brothers triumphantly snapped the thick bar in half. They took massive, greedy bites. Twist, twist, twist. Exactly for 3 seconds they chewed in hopeful silence. Then the true flavor hit their tongues. Their eyes widened in pure horror. In perfect synchronized motion, they leaned over and spat it right out onto the floor. Lucky picked up the wrapper from the floor and inspected what was written on the back. 99% cocoa, unsweetened. It wasn't magic, it was mud. Bitter, chalky mud. A chocolate bar meant to be used for baking, not for direct consumption. They stared at each other in complete disbelief. Then the sheer, ridiculous silliness of the whole grand adventure finally caught up to them. Within seconds, they were laughing madly, clutching their stomachs. As their laughter finally slowed to happy sighs, Lucky felt something in his pocket. He pulled out the remaining 5-rupee coin from the shopkeeper's change. He suggested to Bucky that they can use these 5 rupees to buy the delicious, tried and tested chocolate eclairs candy. This suggestion made Bucky's face shine like the sun. He started daydreaming about the eclairs candy and his mouth watered. Hand in hand, the brothers walked cheerfully down the sunlit street. Sure, Lucky would probably try to trick his little brother out of his pocket money again tomorrow, and Bucky would undoubtedly find a new way to annoy him right back. That was simply the rule of brotherhood.
Hare and Tortoise race again. In the heart of the whispering woods, the morning sun always found Dash the hare mid-sprint. Whoosh! He was a blur of gray fur, his bright red sweatband tucked neatly behind his ears. Nearby, Titus the tortoise was doing what he did best, absolutely nothing. He was floating lazily on his back and sipping sweet coconut juice. As Dash stopped by the pond, Titus called out, "Hey, Dash, come on in. The water is perfectly chilly. Oh, wait, I forgot. You're terrified of getting your little paws wet." Titus laughed. Dash was tired of the teasing. "I might not like swimming, Titus, but I can outrun you any day. I challenge you to a race." Titus said mockingly. "A race? My great-great-grandfather already defeated a hare in the race. Winning is in my DNA." Dash didn't back down. "Then prove it. It's time for a rerun." Titus thought for a while, and with a sneaky spark in his eyes, he said, "Fine, but we do it my way. A 3-race challenge. 3 races, 3 trails. The thorny patch, the gooey swamp, and the lazy pond. The first to win 2 races would be the champion." Dash accepted the challenge. Titus went back to sip his juice, sure he had already won. But Dash went to work. He spent days carefully studying every single bush, branch, pebble, and ripple on all 3 trails. Dash knew why Titus chose these specific trails. On each trail, the tortoise had a natural advantage over the hare. The day of the first race arrived. Ready, set, go! Titus turned into a living bowling ball and rolled right through the thorns without a single scratch. In preparation for this part, Dash had taken Manny the mole's help. Manny had shown him how to dig like a machine. His paws moved like lightning, carving a tunnel right under the thorns. Dash popped out on the far side, but he was just a moment too late. Titus was already at the finish line. Titus had won the first race. Then they reached the second trail, the gooey swamp. As the whistle blew, Titus simply slid across the mud like a slow-motion surfer. He was steady and stable. Dash remembered how Gusto the gibbon had taught him the swing and fling trick, to jump from vine to vine. Dash leaped. He swung through the air, leaping from branch to branch, totally skipping the mud below. Dash sailed over Titus and crossed the finish line in style. The score was tied. Everything came down to the final race, the lazy pond. "Give up now, Dash. You'll never beat me on this one," he called out. Titus slipped into the water, floating easily on his back. Dash remembered what Ollie the otter had taught him about swimming. Keep your chin high and paddle fast. Dash plunged in. Splash! He lifted his chin toward the sky and began the high chin glide. Left, right, left, right. He was doing it. He was swimming. Titus, seeing the hare pass him, began to panic. He started splashing wildly. He lost his balance and... Pop! Titus slipped right out of his shell and began to sink. Dash heard the desperate splashing. He didn't think twice. He turned around, paddled fiercely, and grabbed the drowning little tortoise and his drifting empty shell. Slowly and carefully, Dash towed Titus all the way to the bank. Titus, back in his shell and coughing up water, looked up at Dash. "I have always been mean to you. Why did you come back for me?" Titus said, feeling very guilty. "If I had not saved you, how would you have congratulated me on winning the challenge?" This brought a smile on Titus's face, and he congratulated Dash by shaking his hand. The rivalry of the great-great-grandfathers was finally over. Now, on warm afternoons, they often spent time together happily boating in the lazy pond. For more such amazing story videos, please subscribe to this channel and press the bell icon.
And to generate your own amazing stories for free, download the Mosaic app.